All right, let's get right into it. We're about to explore two of the biggest, most fundamental questions we can ask ourselves. Who are we and why are we here? And we're going to be looking for answers through the lens of three major monotheistic faiths. This should be fascinating.
I mean, seriously, think about it. These questions are at the very core of what it means to be human. They've been asked in every culture across all of history. So they're the perfect starting point for our explainer today. So our goal here is to see how Judaism, Islam, and the Baha'i Faith each provide their own really structured answers to these huge questions. We're going to dig into our source material to see exactly what defines identity and purpose within each of these worldviews.
Okay, so first things first. Before we can even begin to figure out what we're supposed to be doing, we have to ask, who are we? Let's start with this whole question of identity.
Now, what's really interesting here is how this all boils down each faith's identity to a single powerful concept. For Judaism, it's all about the covenant. For Islam, it's submission. And for the Baha'i Faith, it's unity. So let's unpack what each of these actually means.
So, in Judaism, identity is totally rooted in this idea of a covenant. You can think of it like a sacred binding contract. It sets up this special relationship between God and the people of Israel, defining them as God's chosen people, which comes with a unique set of responsibilities. This agreement, this pact, is the very bedrock of their identity.
Now, for Muslims, identity is defined by being a servant of Allah. And the key idea here is submission. But it's not a passive thing, not at all. It's about an active, willing choice to orient your entire life towards the will of God. This relationship of service and submission is absolutely central to what it means to be human in this worldview.
The Baha'i Faith, on the other hand, presents a much more universal identity. The core principle is unity, this powerful idea that all of humanity is one single family. So identity isn't tied to a specific group, but to the entire human race. The whole point is to look past all those divisions that so often separate us.
All right, so now that we've got a handle on identity, let's move on to that second huge question and see how it builds on the first. Why are we here? What's our purpose?
And just like before, you can see how each faith's view of our purpose is expressed through a key set of actions or practices. In Judaism, it's found in observing the Torah. In Islam, it's lived out through the 5 pillars. And for the Baha'i Faith, it's all about knowing God and serving humanity.
Okay, so this makes a lot of sense, right? If Jewish identity is based on the covenant, then the purpose is to live up to that agreement. The Torah is basically the guidebook for how to do that. It provides all the moral and ritual laws, and by following them, a person is actively fulfilling their end of that sacred deal with God.
And in Islam, if your identity is one of submission, then your purpose is to put that submission into practice. The 5 pillars give you the essential framework for doing just that. These are the core actions, from declaring your faith all the way to pilgrimage, that really structure a life devoted to the will of Allah.
And then for the Baha'i Faith, if our identity is that we're one human family, our purpose has 2 sides to it. There's an inward, spiritual journey to know God and an outward mission to serve humanity. And this purpose becomes super practical, focusing on really tangible goals like getting rid of prejudice and working towards world peace.
So we've looked at identity, and we've looked at purpose. Now for the really cool part. Let's connect the dots and see how these two ideas are completely and totally linked.
And this just lays it out so clearly. You see the logic. There's a direct line from who we are to what we do. Being in a covenant with God naturally leads to the purpose of obeying His law. Being a servant of God leads directly to the purpose of submitting to His will. And if you believe we are one human family, well, what else would your purpose be but to serve all humanity? Identity provides the why for the purpose.
So here's the crucial takeaway. Identity isn't just some label you wear. In these frameworks, it is the absolute foundation upon which purpose is built. How you understand who you are fundamentally dictates your understanding of what you are here to do. You just can't separate the two.
And that leaves us with one last thing to chew on. We've seen how identity shapes purpose, but what about the other way around? How does a whole community, when it's engaged in a shared mission, a common purpose, start to forge an even stronger, more unified collective identity? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me.